Good morning. It is a beautiful, cool mid-August morning, so I thought I'd take advantage of this time to give you a video update of my garden. Again, this is really my first year at doing a garden, so the whole reason I'm even videoing this is to kind of motivate other people to give it a try, because basically if I can do it, anybody can. Last year I had one of these boxes, just one, and just grew a couple of tomatoes in it. And it actually wasn't that shape, it was smaller. Grew 2 tomatoes and they went crazy. So it motivated me to kind of get more serious about gardening this year. This archway is my favorite thing. I got that from the YouTube channel Roots and Refuge. She's loved that channel. She's been a lot of my inspiration. But I love this archway. Some of my plants didn't do as good as I hoped, but I think that's because I didn't have my dirt mix right. So again, you know, it's a live and learn and try again. I'm gonna, in the fall, when I take down everything, I'm gonna take all the dirt out of the box and dig the ground up, loosen the ground dirt that's under the raised bed. I'm also thinking about putting in a little bit of a self-watering component to kind of help me out. I am kind of really getting tired of watering my plants, so I'm thinking maybe if I put in a self-watering component that'll help. I'm going to put more flowers on the ends because the flowers are pollinators. They draw in the bees. This is a morning glory. The morning glories I will probably plant like crazy because the morning glories grow. I've had really good luck. I grew all these morning glories from seeds. They haven't flowered, but I'm hopeful. Hopefully there'll be a flower eventually here. Again, I grew them from seeds pretty late in the season, so I also grew all these from seeds. This was a pepper plant. The pepper plant kind of shriveled up. I don't know, there's a little bit left of it, but it hasn't produced peppers. But I think the flowers probably overtook the root system of the pepper plant. So next year, I have lots of big plans. One of the things I'm going to try next year is to put the squash plant, which you can see, this is a butternut squash, and it has pretty much taken over the arch, but I love that. That was the whole reason I made the arch, was you know, to watch things vine and create a true archway. But the butternut squash, this is a little pumpkin plant here. I don't even know where the pumpkin plant went. I took the pumpkin plant and I fed it up the vine with the butternut squash plant, and I really can't figure out which one is which. So we'll see. Again, I don't know how much butternut squash we even eat, but thought I'd give it a try. But you can see, I mean, look at the size of that flower behind the squash plant. And I have some spinach growing there in the shade of the squash plant. And the pepper plant, really, there's a little hot chili pepper plant that just really took off here in the end of the summer. And I'm thinking some of it might be because of the shade that the squash plant is providing. So next year, I'm going to switch the squash plant to the other side with beans. I'm only going to do one squash plant, put it in the center, grow beans up around it as well, and let everything come up and over to the other side. Then on this side, I'm going to grow some slicer tomatoes, some bigger tomatoes. While the squash plant is small, the tomatoes should get a good hearty start and start their way up. And then by the heat of midsummer, that squash plant will give just a little bit of protection to the tomato plants to keep them from burning out so bad. I feel like and I definitely am gonna, I use no insecticide this year. Again, it's my first year, so I really just kind of let stuff grow and see what happened. And I didn't get much tomato production. I was really just kind of going for plant production this year, and I'm really happy with what I got. These noodle beans from Baker Seed Company, I am so happy with the noodle beans. I planted them from seed, and you can see they've grown up, and well, I kind of let them get out of control here. I need to weave them back into the squash and the noodle plants are weaving together, but you can see how good the noodle beans have done. I fixed them for the first time the other day. Got a handful and fixed them just like green beans, sauteed them with corn, and they were really good. So I'm really pleased with how easy the noodle beans are to grow. I have some little, these are just little Kentucky, I forgot the name of them. Kentucky Wonder green bean. And again, I started them from seed late in the season, as usual. You know, what happened is I grew a few seeds, and then I got excited that I actually could do this. So I grew some others late in the season. And not really expecting anything in particular from them. But, you know, just seeing what they would do. So hopefully maybe with the temperatures cooling down, maybe I'll get some green beans. This was an empty space in the garden, so I just bought a couple of, because my tomato over there was so sparse and spindly, I thought, well, maybe I did wrong by trimming the bottoms too much. So I thought, I'm going to just buy a couple of tomatoes, put them in the dirt, and not touch them, and not prune them, and not do anything to them but water them, and see what happens. And they started out great and started producing tomatoes, and then, as you can see, died off. Again, I think some of this is because I don't have my dirt mix correct. But I could not be happier with the results of this garden and the archway. I think it's a lot of fun for my first time. I've got big plans for next year. I learned a lot this year. Again, I'm going to change the dirt mix, put in a little bit of a self-watering system, just to help make sure that the plants are getting plenty of water. I'm going to leave the archway basically where it is. Again, this will be squash and beans on this side, tomatoes on that side. I'm going to put some sweet pepper plants here in the opening, and then this is going to be some bush beans. And then my garden's going to extend. I'm going to have another raised bed in basically this grassy area here, and it's going to be nothing but cherry tomatoes, because that's really, out of the garden, that's the thing I've enjoyed eating the most, that and the beans. So really, I'm such a basic gardener. Green beans, and tomatoes are kind of what I'm shooting for. I did try yellow squash this year, and my yellow squash got some kind of bug that killed back the whole plant. I was very grateful it didn't affect the butternut squash plant, because I was afraid that was what was going to happen. But the pumpkin and the butternut squash seem to be doing great. Just an update on my seeds. As I said, I got some seeds from Baker Seed Company. Started so many seeds, I ended up with tomato plants I didn't know what to do with. So I just threw 3 over here in my rose garden. That's a rose I just planted this year. I've got to get some more cow panels and make a decorative brace for the rose bush to climb on. There's a clematis in there with it, but I'm afraid it might have not survived the summer. It's hard to get enough water back here, but the rose is certainly very sturdy, and I'll get another one of those. My goal is to continue to bring this garden out, and it'll be a flower garden that'll wrap all the way around this little bitty deck area. The tomato plants, again, these are seeds from Baker Seed. I can't wait for them to turn.